The Medrash says that Hashem shows off tzaddikim. And the mashal is for somebody who makes pots and pans. So he goes in the shuk and he wants to show, look at my wares, look how good quality this is. He takes a baseball bat and he starts whacking it and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and it doesn't break, and that shows people, oh, this is good quality. So too, says the Medrash, Hashem wants to show the Pamal Yishamala, the angels, look how my tzaddikim are. I can whack them and hit them and break them, and they stay strong. Fine, so we know that the tzaddikim are tested and they pass, but there's another type of nachas ruach to Hashem. Our kips, who are hurt as children, little kids, they're not tzaddikim, they're not Reb Chaim Kanievskis, they're not Lubavitcher Rebbes, they're not tzaddikim, they're not gedolim, they're ketanim, they're regular people, and they're broken into little pieces, and they're pained, and they're mamish stepped on and abused and rejected, and then they go ahead and they put on tefillin once. And they're doing that same thing. They're showing the Pamal Yishamala. Look what a Jew is. Look what a Jew is. You could step on him. You can break him for years. He's not going to be Jewish. And everyone will give up. The Malachim say, forget about it. He's gone. The Yetzer Hara says, I don't have to focus on him. I can focus on other people. He's dead. And all of a sudden, a little flicker. And your son put on tefillin after how many years? And after how much hell that he went through. Mamish the same. I don't know, when I say the same, I don't know, I can't measure someone in Auschwitz, I can't, but that's the closest to Auschwitz that we have today. Since the Holocaust, nobody's suffering as much as your kids. Since the Holocaust, for sure not. They are so suffering. Could we say, who could say, that if I had this pain, and I fell so far away, that I would put on tefillin, that I would want to put on tefillin, that I would even want it just for 1 minute. They're so far away. So I feel so bad for their pain and for your pain. But you see the nachas? You see the nachas when a kid who's smashed, not a kid who's the best kid, the Gadol Adar, look how I can smash him. No, the one who falls out and who's pushed and smashed into the ground. I have so many stories of Home Sweet Home boys. There was a boy who came to Home Sweet Home. He was molested and abused and raped and went through so much pain in his life from such a young age for so many years. Suicidal, tattoos. And he went ahead and his friends bought him a iPad in those days. It was an iPad with internet. And he went ahead and he realized he's watching stuff that he shouldn't be watching. And he went ahead, and this is a shiny thing, this is the most valuable thing. Someone, he has no money, no family to give him nothing, no savings. This is his most valuable possession, this shiny iPad. And because he knew that he's watching stuff that's bad, he went ahead, and I took pictures of it at the time, and he took a hammer and he smashed it to pieces. Sending a message to the Satan, of all Satans, that, ha, you can't get me. And I'm looking at this kid, not the kid in Brisk, not the best kid in the yeshiva, not the healthy ones that you can test, the most broken person. And it's like I could kind of see why Hashem is doing this maybe, because the sacrifice, the carbon that he gave Hashem, none of us could ever do. No kid in yeshiva now learning and steiging and having a happy life, even though there's plenty of nisyanis for everybody. But nobody can do that. Nobody can be abused and rejected by the family and thrown out of yeshivas and in psych wards and in rehabs and struggling for everything to be normal and so far away from happiness and be able to take out a hammer. He's working on Shmir Seinaim. Unbelievable. How do you prove what a neshama of a yid is? So Hashem had his reasons and his plans. And he took the Heilige Nishmas Yisrael and he sent us into Mem Tasharitum in Mitzrayim. And the Svarim ask, I don't understand why. Why would you take a whole nation of pure souls and put them in a matzav where they end up being Mem Tasharitum? Why? He has his reasons. And he pulled us out, and we were about to be lost forever, to show us that I love you even b'soich tumasam. And then he sent us to all different kind of galus, all different types of pain. And for some reason that this has to be done for the tikkun before Mashiach, it somehow makes sense. And he sent us into the Spanish Inquisition. They burned us alive and they tortured us. I mean, could any of us imagine torture? Torture? If my remote starter doesn't work on my car, it's torture. Torture, real torture? Who can stand torture? If we don't have air conditioning, we go nuts. I used to go to Manhattan to work 30 years ago. I used to go from Brooklyn to Manhattan on a train. It was packed with people. There was no air conditioning. Today, that would be called torture. Real torture? How could you do, like, how could we imagine real torture? And we survived, and we were suffering, we were mamish, like, taken apart in so many ways. We went through a Holocaust where our best and our brightest, our frumest, our tzaddikim were mamish ripped from us and killed and murdered. And a few couple of Sheres HaPleita somehow miraculously rebuilt Klal Yisrael in a way that's so magnificent. We're so frum, maybe we're even too frum. It's unbelievable what's happening here. Every hechsher, every tzitz, everything we have is, it's unbelievable. Hitler had no idea that this is possible. Not shaykh to anybody to dream. I was born in 1969. By the time I was 5, 6, my earliest memories, I grew up in a Klal Yisrael. I didn't think I'm missing anything. When did this happen? From 48 to 68, in 20 years, they built shuls, meisters, camps, groceries, bakeries, the pizza shops, the other pizza shops. Like, did we grow up thinking like we're post-Holocaust? I think, chas v'shalom, I would imagine if we had a Holocaust, it would take 100 years until we'd be in somebody's basement maybe getting together. There would be a pizza shop. Who had money for all of this? Who had time? They didn't speak the language. How did this happen? It's just unbelievable. Hashem did that, right? And now he's like, gave us a little bit of a breather in the 70s and the 80s. The guy Rebbe told me, ich weiß nicht, was geschehen. Amul, mis geworden frimmer and frimmer. I don't know what happened. We used to be getting frimmer and frimmer. And all of a sudden, boom, emotional Holocaust. Kids want to die. It looked like a spiritual Holocaust. It's not. It's emotional Holocaust. Kids getting molested, kids getting traumatized, people who can't breathe, people who don't want to live, people who want to hurt themselves, self-harm, psych wards full of Jewish kids. Utah, we're going to the Amish, we're going to the what are they called over there in Utah? The wilderness programs and the Mormons, we'll go anywhere, sending kids out. We can't. Sayu v'vayu, parents hating their kids, parents locking their kids out in the name of God. I mean, it's a mamash emotional Holocaust. Doesn't make any sense. But these kids, you'll see them. Just give them a chance. Be on their side. You'll see that these are probably the most terhaibin and neshamas that Hashem sent down on a mission. That I want to show my tzaddikim, my pamal yishamala. I want to show my malachim. Vus is a Yiddish neshama. What is a Yiddish neshama? So I'm going to have you go down, and you're going to be molested, or you're going to be traumatized, you're going to have a learning disability, you're going to have dyslexia, you're going to have problems, you're going to have issues, and you're going to fall apart, and your brain is going to break, and you're going to want to die, and I want to see what you're going to do. And they are Makadesh Shem Shemaim so beautifully. Just wait. Most of them will come back. And when they come back, their Yiddishkeit is not like our Yiddishkeit. The Yiddishkeit is real. A guy who went off the derech and suffered and almost died and had a cocaine addiction, and then he came back and he's married now and he's frum. He tells me, when I put on my talis every morning, I feel like Hashem is hugging me. I am so jealous of him. Thinking about going off the derech. Our kids who stay on the derech will never have that. The kids tell me when they start putting on tefillin one after another, I put on tefillin in the morning, just wrap on, wrap off. Like wax on, wax off, wrap on, wrap off. I feel it connects me to Hashem. I'm sorry, I never felt that. You feel like that when you put on tefillin? You have to work on it, but do you really feel mamish like that's my connection to Hashem? They really are Yidden. They're really frum. They're really feeling the part that we don't have, that regesh. And when they become frum, they're erluch, they're frum. They're doing Ratzon Hashem as much as they can. I'm so not worried about their Gan Eden and Gehenna. I'm much more worried about ours. And if we're smart, we'll invest in them, and this way they'll carry us when they get lifted up, and they'll remember, this guy was nice to me. Trust me, this whole thing is backwards. They're not our problem. They are our solution. They are being marba kavod shemayim. So are we, and we're all having nisyonis. I'm not knocking from people. I'm not knocking the kids on the derech, and it's not easy to stay from. It's all true. But the biggest Kiddush Hashem is from your kids. The biggest Kiddush Hashem. I'm voting against it. Hashem, I don't like it. Too much pain. But this whole world was done with the same idea. Hashem's going to put us down here. There's going to be pain and death and sickness, right? He had a reason why. But the Malach said, no, I don't want to go. There's so much pain and evil. Neshama, right? It's true. That's the story of every single one of us. The shamas don't want to come down here. Toiv, nayach leila adam shalei niver toich, whatever. The whole thing is this is not for our benefit. right? But we have a job and a mission to do. Your children have a job and a mission to do that none of us can do. And probably they were chosen because maybe they'll be the ones to do it because we couldn't do it. They have koiches that we don't have. You don't see it now. You don't see it now. Wait. I'm talking about hundreds of kids that went through this. Look at them 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later. Wait and be patient. Be arachum and achanon, erech apayim. Do what your job is, which is to increase their ability to get healthy and stay alive and be happy, to increase their ability to come back to Hashem through kiruv levavos, through understanding, through acceptance, through support, not from rejection. We have to go back to what we know is true. Nobody can take away your Baal Shem Tov that told you what to do with your kid. Nobody can take away your Chazon Ish. And when people challenge you and they say, what's the matter with you? Say, I'm sorry, are you Hasidish? Do you know that we had a Rebbe called the Baal Shem Tov and they asked him what to do? And I'm doing what he said. The Baal Shem Tov said, Le'ohev Oisem b'yoser. And you heard from a therapist that you have to have, what's it called? Borders and, I don't even know what it's called. Boundaries and consequences and all. That takes away Le'ohev Oisem b'yoser. So no, it's a very big problem because we have the Baal Shem Tov on one side, and then we have, all the way on the other side, Joe Schmo therapist who went to college and has a $35 copay. You decide what you want to do, no problem. I would have no problem abandoning the Baal Shem Tov and following the therapist. I'm not so Hasidish. If it would work. It's not even working. They follow more and more and more until the kid gets worse and worse and worse. More boundaries, more consequences, more richuk. We dig our own graves. We're digging the grave of the child. And then they finally say, we're out of ideas. Not, I'm sorry I hurt you. We're out of ideas. Your kid is so bad. Call 911, call the police, lock him out of the house. How many of you got that advice? Why don't you go, no refund. Why don't you go back and say, I'm sorry, but since I came to you, the fever went from 101 to 102 to 103 to 104. Don't you realize that your advice didn't work for me? What about that? What about the fact that I came to you to make my problem less, not more? You caused me to close the lifeline to my child because it was supposed to help. You told me I can't enable them because it was supposed to make them better, but it made them worse. It moved her from weed to cocaine. It moved him from coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning to not coming home at all. Why isn't anybody responsible for the advice that they give? It has to work. Rabbi say, if my advice didn't work, nobody would be here. Their advice not working, that's it. Nobody knows because HIPAA laws. HIPAA laws. Anyway, we have to be focused. We have to know what our job is. We have to do it. And you'll see you'll come to respect these kids the way that I do. And by the way your Rebbes did. The Rebbes, the Tzadikim, don't look at them like that. Like Rishuim, all the Shiksa Goita, it's all Katanim. The Tzadikim never reject anybody. Reb Shlomo Karlina taught us, Ahavas Yisrael's for Yedid, and every Sefer. And you start looking at all the medrash, you say, hang on a second. Where is this coming from? Where is this rejection coming from? It's not a Jewish trait. It doesn't work, cannot work, and it's not a Yiddish trait. And yet the mainstream of everybody is Vikema Lazin, all kinds of questions, Zayagit, but where is it coming from? Coming from the Goyim. So you have to follow what the Baal Shem Tov, what the Chazon Ish told you, and I don't see any reason that we shouldn't be following them. It works better. Look at you parents, you mamish, amazing people. Amazing people. Shviras Hamidis, you're standing tall, you're happy. If this wasn't working, we wouldn't have had a convention with 600 people there.